My name's Scott Wilkinson. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. Now, one of the big issues I deal with is people come in and don't even realize all of the possibilities you can get for ear piercings. Today, I'm going to talk about every single ear piercing you can get, and if you're interested in any one of these, I will go over more detail in my Whole Truth series because I have a video for each and every one of these piercings. Now we're going to start off with the simplest of all the piercings, one that everyone knows, and that's the earlobe piercing. Now the earlobe piercing generally just goes perpendicular through the earlobe. You can do multiple of these, you can do a single one. The next piercing I'd like to talk to you about is going to be the transverse earlobe. Basically, this one goes side to side through the ear. Generally, you're wearing a barbell or curved barbell through this area. The next piercing I'd like to talk about is stacked earlobe piercings. Stacked earlobe piercings are when you do one above or slightly staggered going across the ear. With this, you can create different shapes and fun options. And last on the earlobe list is going to be the stretched earlobe. Now you're going to be using an existing earlobe piercing and slowly over time stretching to a larger size. And as you can see, they can get quite big. Now moving up the ear, we have the helix piercings. Now technically there's 3 different angles of helix piercings. Well, actually, if you look on the chart up here, you can see that that inner part where everyone's getting pierced, that little valley, is called the scapha. That is not the actual helix. The helix is just a little rim on the outside of the ear. Yeah, technically that's right, but we all just call them helix piercings. Now, to start off with that first one called the scapha, that is basically on the inside of the rim here. Now, you can see how a lot of people wear rings in here. The studs will have forward-facing gems. This is probably the most common one that most people get. Now, the next one on the list here is going to be a true helix. A true helix kind of goes sideways, and if you were to put a hoop in there, it's going to look similar to this. Now, not many people get this piercing, but it can create a really cool look. And the other helix piercing is more of a hybrid. It's a combination of the true helix and the scapha. Now this piercing, well, all of these piercings all depend on your anatomy and ultimately just what looks best. If there's a certain look you're going for, tell your piercer. Another fun helix piercing is going to be the forward helix. Now the forward helix is done all the way to the front of the ear. It's typically done with a stud, but you can wear a ring, and sometimes you might see these done in triples. Another really popular piercing is the conch piercing. Now the conch is the inner bulb of the ear and it covers that whole area. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt again. Now the conch is not the whole, the upper part is called the cymba and the lower part is called the cavum, and it's divided by the daith. So sometimes nobody uses any of those terms. It's called a conch. Now, get it where you want, but traditionally it's through the middle of the ear, generally closer to the edge, so you can wear a ring once it heals. And next on the list is one of the very first piercings I ever got, the Tragus Piercing. Now the Tragus Piercing is the little nub out of the side of your ear. You get pierced with a stud. Now I will say it doesn't work with stethoscopes or earphones, so this might be a factor. And across from the tragus is the Anti-Tragus, which is the little nub here. Now, not everyone has a very prominent Anti-Tragus to pierce, but if you do, it's a cool piercing. Now the next 2 tragus piercings get confusing to some people. There's the transverse tragus and the sideburn or surface piercing tragus. Now a transverse tragus actually goes through the cartilage with a curved barbell. It needs to be thick enough and big enough and protruding so you can actually get enough tissue to pierce. And the surface tragus piercing is in front of the actual cartilage through the skin in the sideburn area. This is done with a surface bar, and traditionally you're going to see the 2 gems on the side. And up next is going to be the Rook piercing. The Rook is just a ridge of cartilage right next to the tragus. It's pretty prominent, and as you can see, you get pierced with a curved barbell, and these are fairly easy to sleep on. Pretty cool piercing. Now the faux rook, or fake rook, is what it is. It doesn't go through the rook, it goes straight back to the back of your ear. You're going to wear a labret or some sort of barbell, but it fakes the look of a rook piercing. And up next is going to be the Shen Men Piercing. Now the Shen Men became very popular because it's supposedly an acupressure point, but it's arguably the same spot as the flat piercing. Now the next piercing I'm talking about is a flat piercing. The flat piercing is a cartilage piercing, but sometimes people have a lot of curves, and if you have a real flat area and it's not very curvy, you put this centrally located right in the middle of your cartilage. Now, as we move down the ear, there is this ridge right next to your conch, and that is called a snug. Now, this is a very dense piece of cartilage, and it's a real long healing process. That's why you don't see a lot of these. The next piercing I'm talking about is a Snonch piercing. Kind of a fun word to say. But it's a combination of a Conch piercing mixed with a Snug. It's traditionally done a little bit higher up than the Snug piercing and faces forward. Now the next piercing I'm talking about is the Anti-Helix. The Anti-Helix is I can't take this anymore. I've been biting my tongue. Now technically the Rook is the inferior crux of the Anti-Helix. The Faux Rook is the triangular fossa, and the rest, you know, the flat, the Snug and Snonch, they're all just versions of the Anti-Helix too. Well, okay, if you follow the Anti-Helix up to the superior crux, that's where it's gonna be. Now, as you can see, these are done in multiple series. Sometimes you see 3, 2, or 1, but it follows the curvature of the ear, and these look awesome. Now, the Daith piercing, or wrongly pronounced Daith piercing, is the inner part of the ear behind the tragus. It looks like a ring's coming out from the inside of the ear, and this one should be done only with a ring. Now, without bringing the nerdy guy back in here, let's talk about a more advanced piercing. The industrial piercing is when you connect 2 points of the ear with one barbell. Now, this is the most popular piercing you're going to see, and it's called a scaffold industrial. But there are many other piercings you can get. For instance, a vertical industrial. You can also do a tragus to conch industrial, a conch to conch industrial. You can do a floating industrial, or combinations thereof. Now, you can also get many other industrials with custom bent bars to fit those 2 points, but these are the most popular ones that you will find. And another advanced piercing I'd like to talk about is an orbital piercing. Now, an orbital piercing is when you take 2 piercings and they're connected together with a single ring. Now, there's many placements you can do with this. Traditionally, you're going to see them in the helixes. You might see it in the earlobe, which might be an easier piercing to heal. You can see it in the conch, which is a more advanced one to heal. Or even more advanced yet, you might see something like the UFO. Now, these are very complex and difficult piercings to heal, but when you see them, they're absolutely beautiful. And some people call a ring through the conch an orbital, but this just isn't true. It has to go through 2 piercings for it to be a proper orbital. So there you go. Over 30 options in just your ear alone. Now, if I missed anything, let me know in the comments. Now, if you enjoy videos like this, hit the subscribe, hit the like, and of course, keep putting holes in your body. We'll see you all in the next video.